Hello everyone, it's me Shanty and you're watching Biology Nowadays. Have you ever wondered why some plants like strawberries flower only during a particular season of the year while some other plants like tomato plants flower throughout the year? It's also interesting that many plants found in the tropics may not be found in the temperate regions and vice versa. To know why, stay with me and watch this video on photoperiodism. In 1920, Gardner and Allard, two investigators from the US Department of Agriculture, found that the critical factor for flowering in most plants is the length of the day. They called this phenomenon photoperiodism. Photoperiod means light period, or in other words, the length of the day. And photoperiodism is the response of an organism to the changing relative length of day and night. Flowering in plants is an example for photoperiodic response. Not just plants but animals and birds also show different kinds of photoperiodic responses. In this lecture, let's focus on the flowering response in plants. Besides that, day length is a critical factor for flowering, scientists noted another interesting fact related to this. They observed that some plants will flower only when the photoperiod or day length is shorter than a particular day length, while some other plants will flower only when the day length is longer than a particular day length. Is it a little bit confusing? Don't worry, let me explain this in a simple way. For example, let's take the case of some types of chrysanthemums. These plants will flower only if the day length is 15 hours or shorter. Now consider spinach. Yes, our Popeye's favorite superfood. I think many children ate spinach just because of this famous cartoon character Popeye. This plant spinach will flower only if the day length is 13 hours or longer. Now let me underline 15 hours of day length and 13 hours of day length. Let's go through the underlined words. You might have already noted that I have given a particular number of hours of day length related to flowering of these plants. This particular number of hours of day length is the critical day length or critical photoperiod of that plant. I will explain more on critical photoperiod later in this video. But from here, you can at least understand that critical photoperiod is different for different plants. For chrysanthemums, it is 15 hours, while for spinach, it is 13 hours. Now let me underline the words shorter and longer. In the case of chrysanthemum, it will flower when the day length is equal to or shorter than its critical photoperiod. The important word here is shorter. Such a plant which will flower when the day length is equal to or shorter than its critical photoperiod is called a short day plant. On the other hand, spinach will flower only when the day length is equal to or longer than its critical photoperiod. The important word here is longer. Such a plant which will flower when the day length is equal to or longer than its critical photoperiod is called a long day plant. Now, let's suppose that it is summer season in the temperate regions. You may know that in these regions during summer, the days are longer and nights are shorter. For example, consider a day with 14 hours of photoperiod, which is actually a long day condition. Both chrysanthemums and spinach will flower, but remember that only spinach is a long day plant while chrysanthemum is a short day plant. It is because spinach also flowers if exposed to 16 hours of daylight, but chrysanthemum does not. On the other hand, the short day plant chrysanthemum can flower when exposed to just 8 hours of daylight, but the long day plant spinach cannot. Now I hope that you understood clearly what a short day plant is and what a long day plant is. By the way, did you know that spinach cannot flower in the tropics? From what we discussed until now, can you guess why? If you can guess the answer, type it right now in the comment box below. I will be eagerly waiting for your responses. Besides chrysanthemums, some more examples for short day plants are cocklebur, which has a critical photoperiod of 16 hours. This means that cocklebur will flower when exposed to a day length of 16 hours or shorter. Some other examples are poinsettias, strawberries, primroses, rice, sugarcane, etc. Short day plants generally flower in early spring or autumn when the days are shorter and nights are longer. But as I mentioned before, some short day plants with a critical photoperiod of 15 hours like that of chrysanthemums or 16 hours like that of cocklebur will flower in summer also. Besides spinach, some more examples for long day plants are some types of potatoes, Some wheat varieties, lettuce, radish, etc. These plants generally flower in the summer season when the days are longer and nights are shorter. Now let's define critical photoperiod. It can be defined as the length of the day in a 24-hour cycle required to induce flowering of long day plants or to inhibit flowering of short day plants. Let's go through the example of chrysanthemum and spinach once again. Here, when the day length is longer than the critical day length, long day plants like spinach will flower, while in short day plants like chrysanthemums, day length longer than its critical day length will inhibit flowering. Besides long day and short day plants, there is another interesting group of plants, the day neutral plants. Sunflower is an example. In these plants, flowering is not affected by the length of the day. So altogether, there are three groups of flowering plants based on their day length requirement for flowering: short day plants, long day plants, and day neutral plants. The day neutral plants will start flowering after a period of vegetative growth and then will flower throughout the year. Some more examples for day neutral plants are tomato, cucumber, cotton, maize, etc. So by now, you know why some plants flower only during a particular season and also why some plants are seen only in the temperate regions or in the tropics. Of course, one of the main factors is the length of the day, which differs according to seasons and geographical zones. In 1938, Hamner and Bonner began a study of photoperiodic responses of the short day plant cucumber. They observed that a completely defoliated plant, or in other words, a plant without leaves, cannot be induced to flower, which means that it is the leaf blade of cucumber that perceives the photoperiod. During these studies, Hamner and Bonner made a crucial and totally unexpected discovery. Yes, sometimes it happens. They noted that short day plants need an uninterrupted long night for flowering, and if the long night is interrupted, even by short flashes of light, they will not flower. But interestingly, these plants flowered even if the short day is interrupted. So, short day plants can be more appropriately called as long night plants. In the case of long day plants, Hamner and Bonner observed that short night is more essential than the length of the day. These plants will flower even when the long day is interrupted by brief dark periods. So long day plants can be more appropriately called as short night plants. All these suggested that it is not the length of the day, but the length of the dark period which is critical for flowering in plants. As we just now learned, it is the leaf blade that perceives the photoperiod, and the chemical which perceives the photoperiod stimulus in leaves is phytochrome. Phytochromes are a class of photoreceptors in plants, bacteria, and fungi used to detect light. It is a blue pigment. Phytochromes are sensitive to light in the red and far red regions of the visible spectrum. Experiments have revealed two facts. Firstly, plant exposure to red light of wavelength 660 nanometer inhibits flowering, and far red light of wavelength 740 nanometer induces flowering. Secondly, the flowering response is determined by the nature of the last exposure. That is, if the last exposure is to red light, no flowering would occur, and if the last exposure is to far red light, flowering may occur. In 1936, studies by Chailakian showed that the leaves formed a substance that moved into the stem apex and initiated flowering. As it was not isolated, this substance was considered to be hypothetical. This hypothetical substance was given a name, Florigen, the flower maker. Many scientists tried to isolate Florigen but couldn't find success, and Florigen remained to be a mystery. So another hypothesis came into existence. This hypothesis suggested that Florigen does not exist as an individual substance. Rather, Florigen's effect could be the result of a particular ratio of other hormones like gibberellins, auxins, cytokinins, and ethylene. After 7 decades, in 2005, a study published by Huang et al. In the topmost journal called Science suggested that Florigen is a reality and not a mystery anymore. This study attracted much attention and was ranked the number 3 breakthrough of 2005 by the journal Science. Since then, many studies were carried out to find the mechanism of action and molecular nature of Florigen. Now we know that Florigen is a small protein encoded by the FT gene. When plants are exposed to necessary inductive photoperiod, it is synthesized in leaves and transported to the shoot apical meristem, where it promotes floral transition. One of the reasons why it took so long to solve the Florigen mystery was that these are very tiny molecules. Our technology and laboratory equipments were not advanced enough until their discovery in the last decade. Anyways, the discovery of Florigen will change agriculture and plant breeding forever. Let's wait and see. Now here is a question. Is there any benefit of knowing about photoperiodic responses of plants? The answer is yes. Knowledge of photoperiodic effect is useful in keeping some plants in vegetative growth to obtain high yield of leaves, tubers, rhizomes, etc. and keep some economically important fruit plants in reproductive stage to yield more flowers and fruits. This also means that a seasonal plant can be made flowering in different seasons or even throughout the year. That's cool, right? All these are done by manipulating day lengths using artificial lights in growth chambers like this or in greenhouses. Fruits and flowers produced by these methods are more expensive than those produced through normal methods. And that's all for this video. But before I sign off, let me add a point here. Not just the light and dark periods, but temperature, especially low temperature, also affects flowering. We will discuss about this in an upcoming video on vernalization. Until then, thank you and stay tuned.